The world is practically full to the brim with people. Every other country's population has begun to overflow. Thus, it may come as a shock that there are still a handful of places so deserted and eerily quiet, it's as though no man had ever stepped foot on them. Today, we have compiled for you a list of the 5 largest abandoned cities in the world. So, keep on watching. Number 5. Varsha Cyprus. Cyprus is well known as a pretty hot tourist destination, which is why the district of Varsha used to be one of the island's hottest resorts back in the early 1970s. However, everything changed when Turkish forces invaded the island in 1974 and claimed its northern part. Clashes on the streets led to residents swiftly fleeing, and Varsha was abandoned, eventually falling on the Turkish side of the border. Turkish forces fenced it off, and that's exactly how things have remained in more than 40 years. It is alleged that Turkish soldiers have orders to shoot on sight if anyone tries to enter the area. Nobody lives there, and nobody goes there either. It would seem that nature has begun to reclaim land once occupied by people, as now there are a variety of sea turtles that have decided to nest there. Time and time again, there have been attempts to bring things back to normal, but it seems unlikely that any of the original residents will ever return. As of 2020, there have been reports that Turkey is planning on opening up Varsha again and allowing people to settle there, which, if true, could be a highly controversial idea. Number 4. Widenoom, Australia. Back in 1946, in Western Australia, Widenoom was built as a mining town. The gorge nearby was filled to the brim with blue asbestos, which used to be an important raw building material during the beginning of the 20th century. Widenoom was the largest town in the Pilbara region during the early 1950s. Due to a sharp rise in health concerns, a decrease in demand for asbestos ultimately led to the closing of the mine in 1966, and most of the residents left the town to look for work. In 2007, Widenoom was officially closed off, and the Australian government did all they could to restrict access to it, and had it removed from all maps as well. Even years later, the danger still has not passed, as asbestos fibers are still found in the environment around Widenoom, making it dangerous to spend time there. At present, there are only 3 permanent residents of Widenoom that are going against the Australian government. Number 3. Plymouth Montserrat. Ever since the Soufriere Hills volcano began erupting in 1995, the Caribbean island of Montserrat has never been the same. The volcano, which has previously been asleep for over a century, has remained active ever since then, although eruptions have been pretty spaced out over the last few years. The capital of Montserrat, Plymouth, was ravaged by deadly pyroclastic flows when the first eruption took place and was eventually entirely evacuated in 1997. More than half the island's population has been forced to evacuate, although the northern part of the island is still pretty safe enough to live in. These days, Plymouth is buried in volcanic ash and is still deemed far too dangerous for anyone to live in. Nowadays, there are tours that let tourists visit Plymouth, but you need a guide with a special permit to take you into the exclusion zone in order to visit the capital. Like our list so far? Why not support us by subscribing and liking this video? We would really appreciate it. Number 2. Centralia, Pennsylvania. The town of Centralia looks like a place brought to life from a horror flick. The coal fire beneath this town in Pennsylvania has been flourishing since 1962, and will continue to do so for more than 250 years or so. Quite a while back, there was an attempt to clean the local landfill, which caused the coal under the surface of this town being lit up. Ever since, the fire has been burning. People have begun to move out of their homes in fear of not only of the fire beneath their feet, but also carbon monoxide poisoning and sinkholes. Most of the homes were brought under government control through eminent domain, and a few of the remaining residents agreed to hand over their property to the government when they died. The state government condemned Centralia in 1992, but bold travelers still travel to Centralia and try to walk along the road that leads into the town. Number 1. Oradour-sur-Glane. It was the afternoon of the 10th of June, 1944, when the village of Oradour-sur-Glane was afflicted by one of the most devastating massacres of the French during World War II. This was believed to have been an act of retaliation due to the town's support of the French resistance. 642 of the town's residents and almost all their houses were brutally murdered by a Nazi detachment. The women and children were locked in a church and killed with explosives and incendiary grenades, and the men were taken into barns and machine-gunned. Only very few managed to survive by playing dead and later escaped to the forest. It was ordered by French President Charles de Gaulle that the ruins of the town remain untouched in memory of the victims. That is the end of our list of the 5 largest abandoned cities on Earth. Let us know your thoughts on today's video down below in the comments section, and don't forget to leave a like, subscribe, and hit that bell icon. Thanks for watching. Until next time.